Prometheus, a massive ship that set off on a 7-day-long voyage 4 months ago. The whole ship and its 2,000 passengers have been missing since then. The news became viral in Europe because the business-class passengers of the ship were some very well-known important people. Rumors about what happened to the ship fly around the entire continent. Every attempt to find the ocean liner failed. The opening scene of the series shows us a woman named Maura running down the hallways of a mental asylum. She is running from her father, cursing him for doing something to her brother. Maura vaguely mentions a lost ship and blames her father of killing many innocent people. The ship she is talking about is Prometheus. In the next scene, Maura wakes up and believes that she was only dreaming. However, the marks on her wrist that she got in the asylum say otherwise. Maura vaguely remembers what happened to her, but most of it is just a blur. It is almost as if someone deleted the past few months from her memory. Currently, she is aboard another ship on her way to America from England. This ship is on a 7-day journey and holds more than 1,000 passengers. The people in business class or the high-class passengers, while those in the middle and lower class are mostly refugees, criminals, or wanderers. They live in the shabbiest shared compartments and are given less food to eat, while the first-class passengers are served the finest delicacies of the world all the time. What no one knows is that every passenger on board has secrets they are hiding. First class is probably hiding that they're a bunch of total a-holes. Maura is one of the first-class passengers and is here because she received a letter a few days earlier. The letter was from her elder brother. In it, he is asking Maura to come to America, claiming that he knows what their father has done. This reason Maura is aboard the ship, even though she is in not a good health and also not mentally stable. Maura looks into the mirror and reminds herself what her name is so she won't forget. If someone tries talking to her. In the dining lounge are a recently married couple, Lucian and Laura, because the marriage was an arrangement by their parents. They don't love each other. Lucian instead has a craving for a Japanese prostitute on board. Meanwhile, the said prostitute is with her mother dressed in a Japanese kimono. But speaking Cantonese, it turns out that they're pretending to be Japanese for a better future life. Maura is sitting alone when a woman named Miss Eve sits beside her. Eve is the owner of the prostitute and is taking her to New York to sell her to a brothel house. Maura gets annoyed as Eve gets intrusive with her constant questions, but the two are interrupted upon arrival of a man. He is a worker from the lower class who is not allowed to even look at the first-class passengers on the ship. He asks if there is any doctor on board because his sister is dying in the lower-class compartment. The man is arrested and taken away by the guards, but Maura follows him and told them that she is a practicing doctor, and because the male doctors on board are stuffing their fat faces with pride, she runs to the lower compartment and helps the pregnant girl. The people are skeptical, but her little sister trusts Maura when the woman stops hurting. Maura's expertise as a doctor is proven. And she quietly comes outside. This is when she meets the good-looking captain of the ship. The captain lost his wife and both daughters in a house fire 2 years ago and is still mourns. The captain talks for a while before they're interrupted by his assistants. They told the captain that they have been getting a signal from somewhere nearby and shows them the coordinates of a place. The captain believed that the signal is coming from the lost ship. To investigate, he doesn't care about the passengers and turns the ship around. Maura goes to talk to the captain and inquires if he thinks anyone on the lost ship might still be alive since they were gone for 4 months. The captain knows it is not possible, but hopes that they surplus food and survived. When Maura leaves, the captain brings out an envelope similar to the one she received from her brother. This letter is from someone named Isle. A while later, the captain announced the situation with the first-class passengers and tells them he is turning the ship to get to the coordinates. Most of the passengers are not happy about the captain's decision, but the captain remains adamant. A few hours later, they finally reach the coordinates and confirm that it is indeed the same lost ship. The captain orders to lower a lifeboat and chooses a group to accompany him to the lost ship. The group consists of 2 lower-class men, Ola and Ja. Maura and a few other people to keep watch. When they finally reach the lost ship and climb up, they are shocked to see that the ship was empty. No one was there. Not even any dead body is lying anywhere and the entire ship seems to be abandoned. The captain is especially confused about how they received the signal because the device used to do so is totally destroyed. Suddenly Maura sees a beetle moving on the floor and follows it. The beetle leads her to a room near a locked cupboard. Maura carefully opens it. and is surprised and shocked to see when a little boy comes outside. He doesn't speak nor has any emotions, and he is holding a black pyramid. They ask him questions about his survival and they bring him to their ship. Mora keeps him safe in a room and started to take care of him since she is a doctor from that night. A man who seems to have swam over from the same lost ship secretly boards. The next morning, every compass on the ship just stops working. People get worried and think if they will suffer the same fate as the passengers of the lost ship, and even the captain doesn't understand what to do next. Meanwhile, Mora is busy taking care of the kid from the lost ship. She returns to her room with food for him and finds a stranger standing outside her door. It is the man who boarded from the lost ship. The man quickly shifts to another door and explains that he heard loud noises from her room and simply wanted to check up on her. He also introduces himself as Daniel, her neighbor. Mora asks the man if they have ever met before because he seems very familiar, but he ignores the conversation and walks back to his room. After that, Mora asks the kid what he was doing on the ship. But the boy remains mute and gives her the black pyramid he had. It seems like he is trying to tell her something, but she can hardly understand. Meanwhile, the captain believes that everything related with the lost ship has to do with its shipping company. Before the voyage, he received a letter from the company that had only 2 words: sink ship. He thinks that the company wants the ship to sink the recently found lost ship to hide their misdeeds. His staff thinks that the captain is thinking too much. The captain is asked to make up his mind about what he wants to do. Next, the passengers and even his own crew are beginning to question his command and authority because the ship hasn't moved forward in such conditions. His mental health gets affected and he starts hearing the sound of his daughter singing. He follows the sound. He goes to the room where his wife and daughters died. It is revealed that the house fire that killed them was not an accident, but shockingly was set by his own wife to kill her daughters and herself. The captain probably should have played Jenga with them more often, or, whatever people used to do back then. The captain tries talking to his family, but his wife ignores him and walks away with the kids, leaving only his eldest daughter behind. The girl tells her father to come back and suddenly lights on fire. This brings the captain back to reality. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself inside a compartment beneath his bed. He is shocked because he knows every corner of his ship, but was unaware of any compartment right under his own bed. At that moment, the captain decides that he is taking the lost ship to the shore at all costs. Since they don't have enough coal to drag it to America, they will have to go back to England. Mora sees a tattoo on the boy's neck that is similar to the mark on the envelope she had received. She reveals to the kid that her brother has been missing for the past 4 months, and she had no clue where he was before she received the letter. The mark is very important to her and she wants the kid to explain what it means. The boy listens and starts crying, but still doesn't utter a word. When Mora leaves her neighbor, Daniel comes outside at her door again. This time he lets out a beetle from his palm, similar to the one that was found on the lost ship. The beetle turns away from the door and goes down the hallway. A little girl from the lower class passengers finds it, follows it and bumps into Daniel. He apologizes to her and the scene cuts abruptly somewhere else. The captain announces and tells the passengers that they're going back to England and nobody's happy about it. People start to shout and protest, but he goes against everyone and remains adamant in his going back to England decision. Mora follows him to the deck and asks him what is going on. The captain tells her about the sink ship message sent by the shipping company. He also assumes that he and Mora were sent on the ship for a reason, as the letter she received that was similar to his. Later, the dead body of the little girl is found and a male doctor is called to find out the cause of her death. He immediately declares that she died of natural causes as she was sick. Mara questions his credibility, but the man shows her no respect. The only thing this guy's got a PhD and experience in is sex. Suddenly the captain is called outside to see the fog. They are surrounded by till now. They were using the sun to figure out the directions they were going. But, with the fog covering them, the direction is difficult to navigate to. The captain returns to his room with Mora and shows her a piece of ribbon that was his daughter's. The captain also discloses that he found the ribbon on the lost ship. He believes that his family was on that ship even though his family died a long time. Mora and Tim decided to go back to the lost ship once again to check the captain's logs and travel documents and try to solve the mystery. They go to lower part of the ship for the lifeboat, but the head of the ship's security stops them. The head of security is very unhappy with the captain's decision to go back to England and thinks his bad decision with the lost ship will harm everyone. Still, the captain ignores him and continues lowering the boat. After they leave, the head of security and the captain's assistants decides to rally people against the captain. Yes, it's high time for a mutiny. The head of security goes to the lower class passengers and tells them about the little girl's death. He puts them against the captain and pushes them to do protest. Since the lower class people do not have enough money to get a ship ticket for a second time, they don't want to go back to England. A while later, they find 3 more dead people on the ship who seem to have died just as the little girl did. This fills the passengers with rage, and people on ship get ready to fight for their rights. Somewhere else, the captain and Mora reach the lost ship and reach a room. They find that every official paper has been burned in the fireplace, but the captain manages to get a single piece of unburnt paper. It has the list of passengers. They also found a strange electric board attached to a wall. The captain reveals that it is a new addition to the ship that happened last year and is used to calculate the steam pressure. It suddenly hits him that the instrument is basically useless, which means it must be there for something else. He is scared for his passenger's life because the ship also has the same instrument. This further proves his theory that the ship company has something to do with the lost ship and the dead people. To make matters even more confusing, the captain sees that Mora's name is also on the missing ship's manifest. Then we see the Japanese prostitute looking over the sea. The married man Lucy, and goes to her and tries to start a conversation, but the prostitute walks away to ignore him. This doesn't go unnoticed by her owner. She comes to Lucy with a proposal and asks to let him spend the night with the prostitute for a lot of money. Later, Eve checks the prostitute to ensure she is clean and surprisingly finds out that she is actually a virgin. A flashback shows us that her mother used to work in a brothel house. One day, the best prostitute got an opportunity to work abroad and get a better life. The women were jealous, so they killed the girl and took her place on the ship. The virgin prostitute knows that what they did was wrong, and she agrees her fate by agreeing to sleep with Lou. The night falls and Lucian lies to his wife about wanting to sleep in the other room. We see him avoiding taking his medicine because of this. He gets a heart attack right before the prostitute takes off her clothes. We find out that Lucian is taking medicine for these seizures, but if he takes it, it makes him impotent. Returning back to their ship, the captain looks at the paper he found. He is shocked to see Mora's name on the passenger list of the lost ship. This means that she was also on it. But the captain has no clue how she returned and what secrets she is hiding. In the following scene, Daniel meets Mora and asks her how she feels about the captain. Mora finds the question very strange, but she says that she trusts him with her life because he has been through a lot and wants the best for everyone on his ship. Meanwhile, the people of the lower class start gathering guns and weapons, determined to take over the ship and get it to America before the captain is warned. He is surrounded by rivals. Simultaneously, we see Daniel trying to use the strange machine that the captain saw on the other ship earlier. The captain and 3 of his supporters are locked into a cabin with their hands bound. The chief security then finds out that the compass has started working. Upon checking their location, the crew is shocked to realize that they didn't move and they're in the same exact position that they were 3 days ago when they initially deviated from the route. Even the oldest members of the crew have no explanation for this, because they have been moving continuously since they were last in the same position. In the meantime, the protesters surround a ship staff member and ask him to tell them why their people are dying in fear. The man recounts everything that has happened on the ship. As they receive the signal from the ghost ship, when the group finds out this happened after the kid was found and rescued, they blame the deaths on him, assuming that he brought some disease. The furious protesters charge in and set off to look for the kid and kill him. First they go to Mora's room, but find it empty. After looking around and confirming the kid is not there, they lock Mora in and go to check the other rooms. As Mora gets worried for the boy, she hears a noise. She moves it and finds a hidden compartment exactly like the one under the captain's bed. The boy comes out of the compartment looking like a demon, and Mora breathes a sigh of relief one after another. The protesters lock the high-class passengers in their rooms. Mora tries picking her lock as the kid watches. Then he brings out a beetle magically. The insect unlocks door from outside. Mora is shocked, but she doesn't have enough time to think about it. They run to the lifeboat and reunite with the captain and his supporters. It turns out that he escaped the room. They were locked in by crawling an event. The group is planning to run away on a lifeboat. Mora tries to join them, but the captain is not sure after having seen her name on the passenger list of the lost ghost ship. Before the group can lower the lifeboat, the protesters arrive and take the little boy away to kill him. Suddenly a heavy rainstorm starts as they get ready to sacrifice the kid. And I don't blame them. He looks like the thing from the film Omen. However, he doesn't seem scared, as if he has accepted his fate. Seconds before they cut his neck, the captain and his supporters come to his rescue. A fight between the two parties, and many people are wounded. Mora tries her best to get to the kid, but a woman throws him off the ship before she can. A while later, the captain's supporters takes care of their wounds in the main lobby. Mora is still shocked and tense, because she had grown a connection to the kid during the time they had spent together. Having had enough, the captain calls Mora out for playing dumb and shows her the names on the lost ghost ship's passengers list. Mora is shocked, and she doesn't remember being on the ship at all. She tries to discredit the list, but stops when the cupboard nearby makes a noise. Everyone watches in shock as the kid comes out of the cupboard holding the strange black pyramid as he did on the lost ship. The episode ends when he walks and hugs her to see what happens next. Watch the second part in 2 days. Until then, stay tuned. And please don't forget to like and subscribe Carbon Lifestyle channel.